Gary Goodwin, founder of The Stuck Creative, and welcome. This is the place to come for tips, tools, and techniques for getting unstuck, getting projects moving, and getting them done. Today we continue exploring the creative instincts. If you haven't had a chance to see part one of this two-part series, please go to thestuckcreative.com and look under videos. There you're going to find part one, where we cover in greater detail than what we'll summarize here the what and why. Today our major emphasis is on the how to do it. Creative instincts, the ones that I've identified so far, and there may be more, are not what Freud would consider instincts. Nor would any anthropologist probably join me that calling these instincts. But I call them instincts because they seem to come up so frequently that they come up naturally, they come up in a very powerful way, and they sure do seem instinctual to me. Turning to the Merriam-Webster dictionary, we find out that instincts are these powerful forces, again, running in the background, that grab us, that hold us, that I say shape our experience, at least in that moment. Here's a snippet of what the instincts can do for us, the creative instincts, and why they're important. This is from part one. Okay, now to the steps themselves. There are only 4 of them. Here are some quick tips, and this block of tips I'm going to have more later, and I'm going to have some cautions to make sure you don't get derailed. The tips here are just keep this enjoyable. It is work in a sense, but don't make it hard work. I think you're going to enjoy it because these are the things you already know. You're going to be rediscovering maybe things you haven't thought about for a while, things that have been inspiring to you in the past. I don't think that's going to be hard work. But I do need to say you cannot rush through this. None of the steps can be done in a day because you need in-between time. In-between time can be a couple days, it can be a week, it can be more than a week. Because you'll be doing something, you have a clear idea of what needs to be done. You need the time to think it through, to dig into your memory, to look around, and then come back and finish up that step. So there's no way of getting all the steps done in a day. Don't even try that. Step 1 includes 2 parts. The main part is to know, of course, the creative instincts, so you can know them when you see them or when you feel them. The second part of that, besides just memorizing, knowing the names of the 9, is to think through the traits of each one. We start with what's within the creative, which causes a watching or a waiting or observing. Observing not only internally but also outside of oneself. Maybe even at times that we're not sure what we're looking for. We are looking. Creative instinct number 2 is the instinct to be able to, from all that looking, to spot something of importance. Creative instinct 3, not only are we looking at it, but we allow ourselves to be pulled into it. We develop a fascination for what we've discovered, what we have observed. We sort of get out of the way and step into it. Instinct 4 is we have this desire not only to see it and be fascinated with it, but we want to bring it into down to earth, to give it some sort of instinct number 5 shape. First, the desire number 4 is we want to bring it out of our mind or out of our own observations. The next instinct is to give it shape, to give it form. And beyond that, number 6, in some way, shape, or form, most creatives want to share it. It may not be sharing in the conventional sort of way, but it could be just telling someone, or it could be in a more formal way, at a gallery, in a book, in a presentation, in a performance. But there's a desire, an instinct for sharing what we've discovered, what we brought out of the heavens, what we've given form to, and now we want to draw other people's attention to it. We don't simply give it form, but we really want to give it a form of our vision, and or we want to give it a refine or a refinement, that we want to shape it over time, maybe keep coming back to it again and again and again. And in that process, we're probably going to be doing the same to us. We want to master new techniques. We want to get better at what we're doing. That's instinct number 7. And instinct 8 is we have a desire to bring it to completion. Not only start and observe something, but actually finish the project, have something done, have it refined, not only to complete it, but also have the joy of releasing it, of letting it go. And letting it go knowing that it is finished and that we go on to the next instinct, which is the instinct number 9, to begin again. These are the creative instincts that I've identified so far. There may be more. The second part of step 1 is to think through the characteristics for each of the instincts. I mentioned some of the general terms or general characteristics, but you can spend some time expanding upon those. Start with instinct number 1 and think through over a period of time, a period of days, how would you put it into your own words what this watching is? How would you explain it to someone else? Is there a better way to express it that's clearer? Is there a way that makes more sense to you that you can really connect with? So spend some time looking at the characteristics in just general terms, thinking them through and getting familiar with them. There's a little something you need to know about the creative instincts. Oh yeah? What? Although the instincts are always there, and by definition they have to be there, we should consider them hardwired. Frequently, we can't see them, we can't hear them, we can't touch them. You're probably thinking, well, if the creative instincts are always there, why aren't we more familiar with the instincts? Well, we frequently have to call. We have to call them up. And why would that be the case if they're hardwired and always there? As you know, definitely as you know, your life can be very complex, many things going on, many feelings, many thoughts, many impressions, everything can be going on at the same moment, at the same time. So we lose track of the instincts. They can be distorted, they can be buried, they can be confused, or above all, until you get this training, they can be underused. But they are there. Hey, nothing to worry about. The instincts frequently answer. They respond when you call. Calling is possible and is fairly easy if we recognize that we have a natural bridge to the instincts. The natural bridge was created by the instinct itself. We can think back, and there are times that we've been inspired, we've been really focused, we've been energized, and those come from an activation, I bet, from one of the instincts that we are looking to cultivate now, one of the creative instincts. So some music grabbed us, maybe some art object or people or places or something grabbed us, firmly grabbed us and gave us a boost of energy. So the interesting part of this, the natural bridge, is recovering those original places, times, books, and that sort of thing. We don't have to go back to them, but we can turn to our memory, and you're going to see that in the next step. There's a second way to call that's very related to our first approach, and we're going to learn more about that in step 3. But once we master that, we're going to start seeing the creative instincts first a little bit, then a little bit more, then a lot more. Combining those two methods, we will be able to call the creative instincts, bringing them up when we need them, when we want them, more often than not. As promised, I said we're going to do some memory work, so here we begin. I'm going to start you off easy, which means just make a list. You don't need to dig any deeper, but try to make the list comprehensive, meaning that stop, think about, I would say, the creative instinct that when we went through the list that you immediately recognized and you said, that one is strong. That one is strong. I know that one. That feels right. I have no problem with that. I suggest you start off with your strongest creative instinct and work from there. And what I want you to do is to go back, spend some time thinking of when that creative instinct was really active, really working hard. Maybe the first time it happened, or maybe last week or the last time. Make a list of the instances that your creative instinct, that particular instinct, was really going. Now, it can be activated, as I mentioned before, or hinted before. It can be activated by another person. It can be activated by a movie, music, some of the work you're doing. It can be your favorite tool. It can be your favorite location, your favorite whatever. Whatever was inspiring that inspired you to have even more of that instinct. Start off small and start off without rushing, making a list. When you look back at it, your list should have a combination of little things and big instances. And as I mentioned before, you can't rush through it. I would work on it a little bit today and then a little bit tomorrow. And as I, walked around and did things on day 3, busy with other stuff, I'd be thinking about what did I miss? What were some other good examples of when that instinct was active? And I would keep building the list, just build the list. Once you have a pretty good list, either for one or for several, then it's time to pack on the details, to spend more time in memory, or asking people about a particular time, what they remember that you were doing or what you were discovering, what you were working on, and start to add detail. So you're getting down the what, where, and how, and all of that, but also capture now, we're going a little deeper. You've gone from just a listing to some of the details. Go a little deeper as far as the tone or what you were feeling during that time. If you can't recover it, go ahead and make assumptions as based upon more current experiences, what it could be, what it would feel like. How would you know that you were in that? This one may even require more sit-down time where you're going deeper into memory and pulling it together. So distant, we can't reactivate. And we do need to have the feeling tone instincts. And the more that we're feeling something, the more a particular instinct's going to fire up for us. Example, I quickly put together a reminder to me around a particular instinct, but as you can see, it's quite a collection of all sorts of things, of reminders of movies, of locations, of items, of objects, all put together in one place. So when I need it, I can find it, I've got it.
Then that's what good ritual does, whether it is ecclesiastical ritual or whether it is magical ritual. But then you have to know how to cope with that and not allow it to go into avenues which might not be really productive for you in the long run.
Here are some tips about making your own collection by instinct of items that remind you of the instinct, that have inspired you to be in that creative instinct. You need to do a bit more work. You have the list, even if you made your collection special, all that will greatly enhance your ability to call up your instincts. But the next thing is you'll need to do practice. Practice for a while. Now, the reason we need to practice is, and even though the instincts are always there, it's tricky business in that the instincts come out of the unconscious. And we also want it to be effective. Our calling be effective under a variety of circumstances, under the best of conditions, under sort of moderate conditions, and under the worst conditions. We want to be able to call and have, I don't know, something like the feeling of the ability to start over, or the ability to share with someone, or to refine what we're working on, whatever it may be, whichever instinct, having it come up fairly easily, fairly effectively, and be there under a variety of conditions and a variety of times. That's our goal, and the only way we can get there is with practice. We also need to practice to work our way through points where we can be derailed, where we're stopped, where this technique never comes to the full mastery that you deserve and you would want, and we just go no further. With practice, we can work our way through those points of derailment. Rarely can a person avoid these points of derailment. The only way to overcome them is to work through them. This feels artificial, and if something feels artificial, then it's fake. That's a trap. That's a derailment trap. Anytime we're a beginner on anything, we're going through the paces, we're going through the steps, it's going to be artificial. It's going to be very conscious, and our best stuff that we do really comes when we're so good at it, we just do it unconsciously. Well, it's going to be a journey before we get there. Just because something's a struggle, just because something is artificial, that we have to go through a checklist or use some sort of using our mind to do it, to get through the steps, doesn't mean that it's fake, that it's not going to work. We need to stick with it, and in time, we'll get to the point where it's automatic or where the unconscious takes over and just does it for us. It didn't work today. This whole thing about calling creative instincts, it didn't work today. Or this is the first time that I'm trying it and it didn't work. It will never work. It didn't work today, it won't work tomorrow. Forget it. It's undependable. A very common derailment trap. And this is why we must practice, because our practice can be at a time of our own choosing. It can be short or longer. It can be done under more ideal conditions. Practice is the place to work out all sorts of things. It's a place to work out our questions about the technique, our questions about if we can do it or not, to work our way through those. And it's also a time to challenge ourselves a bit, making it a little bit harder, making ourselves get there a little faster, or maybe in a more challenging situation. Practice is wonderful for that. And that should build our confidence in the technique. And I might add that this technique is not of my own invention, the background of it, that is. It's what sports psychologists are doing, other people in all sorts of professions who are working towards peak performance. This is how they get geared up for it. This is how they collect their inner resources. This is how they channel what they have through using this sort of technique of calling up previously used resources and concentrating them. There's nothing new here. Many have used it in other practices, and you too can successfully use it for your creative work. Here's another derailment trap, which is the opposite of something that's not working or seems too weak, and that's something that's too strong, that we feel too activated, it's too much, or it runs too deep, or it's confusing. That will definitely happen. We are dealing with instincts. We're dealing with some inner energy that's outside of our hands. That's what makes it so good for us and what we need. But we need to develop some tolerance that there are things that we're not in control of. There are things running in the background, and there are things that really feel different than our normal course. So if you can hang in there, please hang in there until you develop that tolerance, or it becomes more comfortable to work with, or in some way smooths out. And there's a derailment trap that I used to think, and I hear all the time, which is the creative mind needs to be not controlled, it needs to be wide open, not focused, not working with techniques or taking control in some way or guiding. I get that, I understand that. I separate creating from producing. Creativity does fit that model of more openness, more flexibility, more curiosity, more discovery. To be productive, though, we need to switch out of creativity into narrowing the focus, building walls or boundaries, putting up specific goals, putting up specific timetables, specific methods, and pushing things, giving things a definite shape and framework. So those two are different. Please think of those differences, and that we really need to do this inner work if we wish to get unstuck, stay unstuck, and get projects done. Well, generally speaking, for peak performance, for productivity, and for creativity, a wide open mind is not the way we're going to need to go. We can't remain passive. We need to get into the mind directing game, and we need to do it sooner than later. Our mind needs more direction, not less. Our focus needs more direction, not less. Our production and creativity needs more focus for most of us than less. Without that focus, without that direction, we can get stuck, and we can certainly stay stuck for a very, very long time. To practice is to have practice sessions, of course, and each of those sessions can be between 8 to 10 minutes long. You certainly can go longer. If you're not in the mood, you're having problems, you certainly can go shorter, but they're long enough to be able to sit down and delve into and explore the memories you brought up, the discoveries you made. So it also involves some settling in time on the front end, some experiential time in the middle, and then a few seconds to sort of shake it off and get ready for the rest of the day. To practice is to have practice sessions, of course, and each of those sessions can be between 8 to 10 minutes long. You certainly can go longer. If you're not in the mood, you're having problems, you certainly can go shorter, but they're long enough to be able to sit down and delve into and explore the memories you brought up, the discoveries you made. So it also involves some settling in time on the front end, some experiential time in the middle, and then a few seconds to sort of shake it off and get ready for the rest of the day. And what you'll be doing in each session is you're going to be relaxing, you're going to enjoy things, but you're going to feel your way into your collection. You're going to feel your way into your list. You're going to feel way into your experiences. And you're going to use the same techniques that you use to come up with this material, which is, and it may be a closed eye session, it's maybe sitting down, it's definitely relaxing, turning to your memory, and it's going to be bringing all the stuff that we had just mentioned about pulling together, mixing together, bring some of that up and play with a little bit. Visualize it as individual pieces, but also get a feel for what is the whole collection. And you can put your own creative stamp on it. You will put your own creative stamp and unconscious stamp on it. But bringing it up, touching it, maybe even visualize picking it up, holding it, or being in the space of whatever it is, getting involved, doing that, again, 8 or 10 minutes, get a good dose of what that instinct would feel like from your experiences and what you're looking for, and then stop. Just ease out of it, maybe even thank the instinct for showing up, ease out of it, and then move on to your other things that you're doing that day. Just as you're learning this, I think the first week after you've gotten everything together and you've mixed it all together, I would try it maybe 3 times that week. Get a feel of it, spend 8 to 10 minutes, touch it, let it affect you, be surprised by what you discover, stop, move on to the rest of it, and try that for the first week, maybe even the second week per instinct that you're working with. That's why this is going to take some time. Then after that, to keep it somewhat fresh, you might be using it a lot, or some of the instincts you won't be using right away. Practice those, say, once a month. but you'll want to have them practiced enough that you can reliably and easily and quickly call them up to be present to help you. And now finally to application.
Anytime you need a boost, turn to the creative instincts. Some days you may need to get more into refining your work. Others, more drive to complete what you have. Turn to the instincts anytime to get more energy and clarity. You set the mood of a work session by turning to an instinct a few minutes before you begin, or you can call it up during the session itself. If you are having problems getting connected with your work, take a brief break. Call up the appropriate creative instinct and then start your session again.
Now there's something extra here, and it's very powerful. It will increase your productivity greatly. And that is, say each morning, asking the question, what instinct would I like to have active today for your work, which may be right at that moment or half a day later or that evening. What instinct do I want? And then start to bring up throughout the day a little bit of your list, a little bit of the details, a little bit of your collection, and just keeping the day dedicated to that particular instinct. And you will find that it will keep you focused, it will help fight distractions, it will clarify your purpose and goals and values by having that running mainly in the background of your day. Give that a try. I think it's really going to increase your productivity. Okay, we've reached the end. I know this was long. I think, again, you're going to find it enjoyable, and I think you're going to find this really gets you unstuck and keeps you going and allows you to get things done. But as you see the two here looking at you, you've got everything you need. You don't need anything else. Just do these steps, give it a try, and I think it will, in fact, give you wings, gives you energy.